Hi, my name is unarchived, and today we'll be taking a deep dive into the mind of a robot. That is, in the film Robbie. This fictional futuristic story is about a robot that tells us about his life while being stranded in space. How did he get there? Well, he's a robot built by NASA. With the grim music and the bittersweet story, the audience has no choice but to feel something while watching this. But today, we're gonna focus on this one clip.
While I can remember everything I experienced, I have always been a very emotional person. I would always get very upset when my friends would go away into space when I left planet Earth. There was a great bond amongst the crew. Everybody worked really hard. But we had many fun times too, like when Kathy would play her flute to me, but eventually I still kept in contact with my close friends. Kathy still played her flute to me, as well as her fiancé Paul, only I could re-enter the atmosphere, land in the ocean and swim to shore. Then I could see what happened to all my friends.
So from this clip, we know that Robbie is an emotional robot, and we also know that he has a strong imagination and that he can remember everything. I was originally going to make this video about the future of the Earth, as it is shown that it's all covered in water and clouds, until I saw this. If the space crew left, like Robbie said, what are all their supplies and spacesuits still doing on the spaceship? And that's when I knew this was much deeper. Robbie, a robot with the ability to fantasize, might have been living in a fantasy world a lot longer than we expected. We know this robot was able to keep up an illusion in his head for 4,000 years. He even created a vivid scenario of him landing on Earth to see what would happen to his friends. Since his imagination is super strong, it's important that we make clear his fantasy versus reality. In the short film, Robbie says they left him, but we see their equipment and supplies still on the spaceship. He said he was close with the space crew, but they seemed distant, closer with each other than they did with him. And I love this image because he's not even in the picture. It shows that he may not have been as close with them as he thought he was, as he believed he was. Also saying that when the space crew left Robbie, they kept contact. But we never see them leave or actually make contact on Earth.
I still kept in contact with my close friends. Kathy still played her flute to me.
Which leads me to my theory. The story we hear Robbie tell us is all a narrative that he's created in his head because he can't come to terms with reality. Stay with me, I promise I can explain. Robbie claims to remember everything, unlike an organic brain. He remembers astronauts taking off, how he was created, and even what a bee looks like when it pollinates. But we also conveniently don't see what it was like when the astronauts left Robbie all alone in space, or an actual scene of Kathy contacting Robbie from Earth. That is because they never went back to Earth. I might be going on a stretch here, but I think Robbie somehow killed the space crew or prevented them from going back to Earth. Robbie said he was very upset when his astronaut friends would leave to go to space. So imagine how this robot that can display emotions must have felt when they were about to leave him all alone in space. Of course he said he was sad, because that's the story he chooses to believe. But what if he was also able to feel anger, feel betrayed, jealous or envious that they were allowed to go back to Earth and he had to stay in space to maintain the shuttle? And Robbie, being an emotional person, must have at least tried to prevent them from going back to Earth. And since their spacesuits are still on the ship, he opened the door of the shuttle while everyone was sleeping and they died. Now, creator Neil Harvey states that the story was actually meant to be uplifting, and he actually finds the film more cathartic than depressing. So my theory was definitely not what the a creator intended to portray, but he did say, while it was not my intention to have a message, I was certainly interested in the way we confront death and the issue of not ever waking up again. This is Robbie's way of confronting death, his way of dealing with his issues, living in a fantasy, creating an illusion for himself. And even in his last moments of life, he pretends he's talking to someone from Earth, light years away from a planet covered in water. Robbie is a special robot with more human characteristics than some may not realize at first glance. He gets sad, happy, angry, anxious, and even jealous and delusional, just like us. Robbie represents how some humans tend to make decisions out of emotion. We have people in our lives we think we're close to, but might not actually be. I personally took away from this story that we need to stop fantasizing and just open our eyes to the reality and the world around us. Alright, thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.